how to deal with a labour that might actually go okay. And from that point of view, I definitely feel more prepared. Yeah.
So you're actually coming into this almost from the opposite side to most people, because a lot of people are coming at it from the positive side. And I was quite surprised when I looked at the list up on the wall that there isn't any mention of the negatives. And I found that surprising. But maybe that's because I had what could be conceived as a negative experience because I've had 2 cesareans. But I did look at the list and I thought, when are they going to talk about when it doesn't make me feel like it does?
Emma doesn't exist, really sadly.
Has there been much discussion in the class about, I hesitate to say the word negatives, but when a birth doesn't go to plan?
No, not so far. Nothing really. It's been skimmed over, but even kind of the intervention side of labour, so things like forceps and ventouse delivery, we haven't really discussed. And I do think perhaps it is something that maybe should be covered because it is so common for labour to not go the way that women want it to in their birth plan.
Parents to be at an NCT class in Bristol. We are told that particular group were due to go on to discuss caesareans at their next class. I'd like to know more about what antenatal classes are for. Joining us to discuss this, Christine Hill has recently retired from a 35-year career of running private antenatal and postnatal classes. She is author of Christine Hill's Pregnancy Guide and includes the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Royal plans. Still with us, obstetrician Zoe Penn, consultant midwife Pauline Cook, and Belinda Phipps of the NCT. Belinda, how much is the NCT preparing women for the reality of giving birth? And how much is the NCT ignoring the negatives?
NCT runs 2 sorts of classes, and the one you went to is what's called a bespoke class, where it's driven by what parents want to know. We do run other classes that have a standard agenda and cover things irrespective of what the parents say they want. So this was a particular bespoke sort of class, and because most women would like to have a straightforward labour and birth, most women ask first off about coping with labour and look to have a straightforward birth. But yes, things do sometimes go wrong. When hospitals can't always provide a one-to-one midwife and all that sort of stuff, so classes do cover it. Every class covers caesarean section, every class will cover forceps or whatever. In what depth they cover it is really dependent on the parents, because some parents take the view, I don't want to know until, let me cope with it when I get there, I don't want to know. But it is covered. And if parents want to know more about it after it's in their class the next day, the teacher will take time out to do it with them. However, when you actually get into a theatre and have a caesarean section, it's very difficult to fully prepare you for that, because for many women it is a very frightening experience. They quite often do an exercise with Playmobil where you see who is going to be in the theatre, but Playmobil isn't the same as actually being in a theatre. So NCT is adjunct, it goes alongside the care that you get from your midwife, and ideally the midwives that are with you for your birth, if they think a caesarean section is going to happen, should be starting to talk to you about that during your labour and prepare you much more than you ever can do in a class where you're not really wanting to think about it at the time. You're wanting to see your birth go in the way that you had planned a straightforward birth.
The way you're talking then, it does make it seem as if a caesarean is a negative thing. And yet, as we heard from both Jane and from Zoe, they do happen. The rates are about 25 to 30%. So if at the beginning of a class you were told, if there are 10 of you, there's a likelihood that 3 of you are going to have a caesarean, shall we talk about the upsides, perhaps, as well as the downsides? Because there are positives to caesareans. The NCT provides antenatal courses for 100,000 couples a year. That's approximately 1 in 4 or 5 of the full-time parents in the UK who sign up. So, coming back to what I said before, shouldn't you be ensuring that everybody who goes through your door fully understands about caesarean? Because often, as you said yourself, when you get to that point, the midwife is not going to have a lot of time necessarily to warn you.
Every class covers caesarean sections. There's an awful lot on the website. There's a little box called Caesarean Birth. Your questions answered. All the teachers are very well versed in it and more than happy to go with it. Some classes do it in a huge amount of depth. These are the bespoke classes. They fit with what parents want. If you do the standard class, you will get a standard amount of everything.
Zoe, are the women who turn up in your hospital prepared for birth?
Many of them are. Many of them have very good quality antenatal care. I think there's a certain number of women who think that if they have been to classes that they are prepared, and then find it a great shock that they weren't prepared for the length of labour, they weren't prepared for the amount of pain relief that they were going to need, with the uncertainty about the length of time it was all going to take. And I think there's also this idea that if you avoid some of the medicalisation, inverted commas, so if you don't have an epidural, if you set the scene in the way that you're coping and thinking, if you think normal, that you will get normal. And then find that when they end up with the caesarean section, they almost feel that they've done something wrong in their labour, which has meant they've ended up having the caesarean section, and then feel that they failed themselves.
So are you saying that you don't believe that positive thought can lead to a different outcome?
Well, no, I mean, let's face it, 60-70% of women are going to deliver normally, and so that all the statistics would say, yes, of course, prepare yourself for a straightforward birth, because that's what most people are going to get. But I don't think that everything about labour is controllable, and you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for the unexpected, to be able to roll with it, and think positively about the outcome in terms of what we've already discussed. If you're healthy and your baby's healthy at the end of it, then why is that not a success? It's a huge success.
Pauline, as a hugely experienced midwife, do you believe that antenatal classes can make a difference?